Donna here, and welcome to Everyday Homemade. Everyday Homemade is designed to teach you the basics of cooking, all the while making something delicious and homemade for your family. Today, I'm going to be making a sweet and sour meatball. I'm going to have orange juice in it and bell peppers, a little bit of red onion, and then the secret twist is the cranberries. I'm telling you, you're going to love this dish. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is do our mise en place, and that means to get everything in place. So I have to chop up a few things. We have scallions, we have mixed color bell peppers, I have fresh ginger. This is going to go in the meatball and in the sauce. Some fresh garlic, a red onion, and then we're going to zest this orange because zest gives so much flavor to the sauce, you won't believe it. So let's go ahead and get started with these scallions. When I cut the bell peppers, I'm going to start by cutting off the top and then the bottom, and then I'm going to cut into it and then just go around the pepper. Next thing I'm going to do is cut up the red onion. Now I'm going to leave the red onion in a very large dice. I want to be able to see it. I don't want them to melt away in the dish. Now I'm going to grate some ginger. Now, ginger is a root and it has a very thin skin on it. It is edible, you know, all you do is wash it first. But I'm going to kind of take the sides off a little bit here and any rough areas that are on it. And I'm going to go ahead and use a microplane and grate off a tablespoon of ginger. I also need a tablespoon and a half of garlic. So I was just peeling some of them out of the papers and it's super sticky. And I wanted to share with you that is a sign that the garlic is really fresh when it's super sticky on your fingers. So I'm going to go ahead and use a garlic press today. So I really think it's like quick and easy. And I hate mincing up little teeny things. So I'm just going to go ahead and get this all minced up and into the containers with the ginger so we can start our meatballs. If you peel the garlic, it goes through the press a lot easier. So I need a tablespoon for the sauce, half a tablespoon for the actual meatballs. Now that I have pretty much all my ingredients ready to go, we're going to make our meatballs. So in this bowl, I have 1 pound of ground chicken. It's not chicken breast, it's actually part dark meat. So it has a little bit more fat content in it, and I like that. You could also use a ground turkey if you prefer that. So I have 1 egg that I cracked already into this little cup. You know, it's funny because people always say that you should crack an egg into a separate container and not right into your mix. And you know, to be honest, sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. And then yesterday, I was at a client's house And I was cracking eggs into a container, but I was putting them all in there. I needed like 6 eggs cracked. And when I cracked open the last one and put it in, it was all bloody. Okay, lesson learned, you should always crack it into a separate bowl. It's rare that it happens, but it does happen. I also have, like, I think it's a half a cup of Panko breadcrumbs. I'm going to throw in a little pinch of the green onions that we cooked, about half of them, and then that we cut up. I'm going to also add in the ginger and the garlic that we minced all up, and then the orange. So I'm going to do the zest of the orange, and I'm just going to lightly run it around the top of the orange and just get the orange part off. I don't want that white pith underneath. I'm also going to give it a good pinch of pepper, probably like a half a teaspoon, and then a good pinch of salt, actually a couple of them. And then I'm going to mix it together, and I'm just going to get right in there with my hands. Your hands are your best tools for mixing, and you don't want to like over mix the meatballs too much. It'll make them tough. So you just want to get it so it's well incorporated, but that's all. And then I'm going to use a scoop, like a cookie scoop, in order to form the meatballs. And we do this so then they cook evenly in the pot. If they're all the same size, they'll cook at the same temperature. Meatballs are scooped, I'm warming up my Dutch oven. Now you want to warm these slowly. You don't want to crank the heat up too high. You really kind of want to leave it on a medium heat and just let it slowly come up to temperature. My Dutch oven has come up to heat. It's nice and toasty warm. So I'm going to go ahead and add some vegetable oil just to prevent them from sticking too much. Roll it around. And the handles get hot in a Dutch oven because they are cast iron. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the meatballs right in, and we're going to get them all browned up nice and pretty. My meatballs are pretty browned on most of the sides. I don't need them completely browned everywhere. We're just basically doing this to add flavor to our dish. So I'm going to go ahead and get the meatballs out. And then we're going to saute up some of the vegetables. So I have the red onion that we chopped up already. I also have the bell peppers that we cut up. Let's see. And then the garlic and the ginger. I'm going to go ahead and put this in now. I always like to put it in when it has kind of a bed to kind of cook on. If you put it in just without anything else, it can burn really quickly. And mind you, I still have it on a medium heat. I have not raised the heat up at all. So I'm just going to let these soften a little bit, and then we're going to add some liquid. So just added in some rice vinegar. I'm also going to add a couple of cups of chicken broth and a cup of orange juice. I'm going to scrape up the bottom of the pot and make sure I get all the fond, which is the little bits of chicken that are stuck on the bottom of the pot, up. And that just gives us a nice flavor development. So now I have all this in. I'm going to go ahead and put the meatballs back into the pot because they're not finished cooking. They're still all raw in the middle. So I'm going to do that. I still have the cranberries that need to go in. This is about, I don't know, 3/4 of a cup of cranberries. Oh, and then I almost forgot, we have honey that needs to go in. This is 6 tablespoons of honey. So this is a sweet and sour meatball. So we have the sourness from the rice vinegar and then the sweetness from the honey. We also get a little sour from the cranberries that I just put in. So I'm going to let this come up to a boil. I'm going to reduce it down to a simmer. We're going to cover it and we're just going to let it simmer until the meatballs are cooked through. The sauce has come up to a boil, so I'm going to reduce it down to low just where I want it to simmer. I'm going to put a lid on it and I'm just going to let it cook. The meatballs have been simmering for about 20 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and use a thermometer and check to see what temperature they are at. We're looking for an internal temperature of 165 degrees. Okay, so we're there. I'm just going to check a couple of them. Even though they are the same size, different parts of the pot could be hotter. It shouldn't end in an enamel pot like this, but it's always good to double check. So I think they all look really good. So I'm going to go ahead and get the meatballs out, and then I'm going to let the sauce continue to simmer until it reduces down a little. So my sauce has been simmering for about 7 or 8 minutes, and I'm pretty happy with the thickness of the actual sauce. Anyone who knows me knows I love sauce, so it's very important in my world. So I might use just a little bit of cornstarch. This is in broth. So I just put it in and I kind of used my fingers and I melted the cornstarch all down inside the broth. But when you do something like this, I always put it in a separate bowl because you never want to add cornstarch to a hot sauce. It'll just clump all up on you. So you definitely want to melt it first and then add it in. And then slowly whisk it in just a little at a time. It'll take a minute to kind of thicken up as your sauce goes. So here, I'm going to show you. So as you can see, the sauce has thickened up a little bit. But I'm just going to add a little bit of cornstarch, just a little. Give it a stir and let it cook for a minute and kind of see where it's at. I'm also going to add in those scallions we cut up earlier. I always like to add them at the end. I really like that onion bite that it gives, and I don't want them to cook away down. See, now that viscosity is really actually quite nice. It's juicy, but it's not like runny. So I think that's perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and get it out of the bowl and then get it cooling so we can put it into the refrigerator. Before I put this dish away in the refrigerator, because this is actually going to be for dinner tonight, I do want to have a quick taste. So I cut up one of the meatballs right here. And I'm just going to put a little sauce on them. You know I love sauce. The bell peppers are nice and soft, but they're not completely falling apart, and that's exactly what you want. And the cranberries kind of like plump up from simmering in all that juice. So let's see. Very, very tasty. You can taste the vinegar, you can taste the orange juice, and you totally get that whole sweet and sour bite right in your mouth, which is just like one of my favorite flavors. You gotta try this one. Now, I do want to get the broth into an ice bath. So here I have a bowl of water with a whole bunch of ice. And I'm going to put this away for dinner tonight, but I want it to cool down before I put it in the fridge. So an ice bath is the best way to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and pour it right into my bowl here. There. So I'm going to let the pot cool off before I wash it, and I'm going to let my sauce cool off before I put it away and store it. I'm going to give it a stir every once in a while just to release some of the steam from the bottom of the sauce. So today I showed you a quick trick to cut up a bell pepper and remove all the seeds and the veining in one fell swoop. I also showed you about zesting an orange and not to get into the white pith that can be very bitter in your dish. You only want to take off the zest on the very top. I showed you how to use a cornstarch slurry the right way. You don't want to just dump cornstarch into your sauce. It'll clump all up and make a mess. I also showed you how to properly cool down your sauce by using an ice bath. If you enjoyed the video today, go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. And hit the notification bell to never miss an episode. Until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day and you keep it homemade every day. Bye, everyone.